All right, this one is gonna be pretty quick actually. Um, I don't want it to be even 2 hours long. I want this to be like super fucking chill. I guess, I guess I just want to share some, I don't know, some stuff, I suppose, just randomly. Don't worry about it. Mm, so, I labeled this just chatting because, yeah, I guess there should be a category called like just monologuing, right? Um, but hey, this works for now at least. Um, I will try to use this, or whatever little time we have today anyway, to also get more familiar with using my camera, right? More, to warm up to it a little bit. So at one point, I'll probably try to turn it on and see what happens, and if I can talk to you and at the same time, not mind the camera, I guess. Perhaps I will also never do it today because, I don't fucking know. I'm just gonna improvise, okay? So, now this particular story I want to share, and the reason why I'm streaming today anyway, um, is of course a Final Fantasy romance drama. A romance drama. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how else to call it, but whatever. And as always, like when I share these stories and I name the people I name and whatever, I just don't do it maliciously, and it's just an experience we've had, like with someone, and it's real, and it's not my fault that it exists, and so I just share these as they are, um, as I remember them, let's say, not with any particular, again, like malice or ill will or anything. It's just something that happened. So yeah, I don't mind sharing it. It's funny, honestly. Um, I seem to remember that this particular individual would rather like not be directly named. I think they, I think, I think they mentioned it to me at some point. I don't remember when, but like, I have this suspicion that I've been asked specifically not to mention the name. But hey, whatever works. I don't care. I'll respect that wish, obviously, which I may misremember. Maybe the person just doesn't care, but in my mind, it's just stuck this way. So I don't know. So yeah, it it started kind of weird, kind of sus a little bit. I have to admit, I had just broken up with a partner. Well, in Final Fantasy, okay. Um, and I was on the mend. Let's say I was like, yeah, okay, that happened. It was sad. That was sad. And I was like, okay, let me just whatever, just play the game, I guess, right? And there was a certain event going on, a crossover with Fall Guys, of all things, of fall things. And this joke should show you how fucking dank this stream is gonna be. Even if it's gonna be short, I'll try to make it very dank. I won't even have to try anyway. I mean, it's gonna be cringe anyway. But it's like it's a part of like my romantic life that I want to fucking talk about. So, and I haven't, not to any extent anyway. And I feel enough time has passed that it shouldn't be an issue. And again, like I can't stress it enough. It's like it's not with malice. Like when I remember shit I've done wrong, right? I don't hate myself for it. I don't like, I will still call me out, when I do dumb shit or when I do something bad, let's say. But I don't really, remember it in a bad way, let's say. And it's the same with stuff like this, it's just something that happened. I want to get it off my chest, I guess. And yeah, you know, you being the amazing therapist that you are, even though not a lot of people actually watch when I just chat, which, you know, that might actually be for the best, by the way. I mean, for their own mental health, no, not mine. I don't have an issue. Um, yeah, anyway, look. I've prefaced it already. I don't need to fucking repeat myself. So, Fall Guys crossover in Final Fantasy, and this person just, you know, either I approached them or they approached me. I can't even remember right now. So that one is not clear, and neither does it matter much. What matters, and you know, what I really found sus was that they, you know, turned out later that they knew my ex partner, and the timing was kind of strange. Anyway, so this person approaches me and we start kind of talking and, you know, kind of clicking together a little bit over an hour or so. And I was like, hey, you know, that's a pleasant talk. And even if it's a little bit sus, it's under control. Which it was in the end, you know. But yeah, so, you know, the typical stuff. We exchanged like Discord and all that, and I was like, okay, cool, you know. So it was interesting because they were very warm in the beginning, very warm towards me. And yes, I was, I was called like by that person. I was called like mommy, which I didn't really like, but I was like, okay, you know, if you have to, fine, I guess. So I kind of allowed it in that instance. And immediately, like the first thing I noticed is that they were very open towards me in certain things, but in other things very closed, right? Very closed up. Which the contrast was a bit jarring, as if, you know, there is like people who keep private, and then there are people who seem to on purpose withhold very specific parts, you know, of themselves, and that is always going to be jarring and suspicious to me. I don't necessarily like mind people who are very private or keep to themselves, and I also don't mind people who are very open or anything in between. But like when it is like when it looks so artificial, when it feels so artificial, it kind of, you know, it's kind of a red flag for me, because it feels like there is something there I shouldn't know, but actually I should, you know, that kind of thing. So not exactly keeping to oneself, but rather withholding some information. That's the sensation I was getting in the beginning, and I was probably correct, considering what happened afterwards. And so that person, you know, and I, let's say, we had our fun, whatever. And during that, I noticed that they would get very intimate very fast, right? So there is that also red flag, like extremely fast, extremely intimate, still withholding stuff, like that feeling of the other person just not really telling you something that is there, and you know it's obvious, but you just can't fucking put a finger on it. You know, you're like, what is that thing? You know, what is that shadow in the warp? Fucking tyranids. Anyway, eventually, I try to, you know, naturally as you would, I try to do more stuff with the person, as in, you know, actually play the game, actually fucking chill and talk or something, you know, just do other stuff than, you know, down and dirty flirting or, you know, texting or whatever. I was like, yeah, that's fine, but like, I also wanted a friend. If that makes sense. And apparently, after a while, I noticed that like they would be like, oh yeah, yeah, you know, I do this and that, of course, you know, and yeah, we can definitely just do some stuff like play a game or something like together or whatever. But that would never happen. Um, Around that time, which was still like the beginning, right? It was still like week one. I realized the person, or not realized, but like I find out that the person is also a streamer. Um, quite, quite, well, you know, compared to me, like a far bigger streamer than me, obviously. Um, you know, their own like follower base, like their own like subs, their own like whatever. Um, and it is there that things start not adding up, you know, because I noticed that the person has like not that they concealed that obviously, but they had like some things just didn't make sense. So you know they would complain about their money situation, let's say, when they had like so many followers and subs and all that. And I was like, yeah, like what's up with that? Like I knew the person lived with their parents, and so you know didn't probably have to do too much. But anyway, I respected the given information. I'd say, right? I couldn't like go into it in depth, except that person started kind of like at one point asking me um, for a certain thing. So you know what Lavance is, right? Probably you do. If you don't, then just Google it, I guess. And the person just wanted a new toy, right? Um, and they would pressure me so much about that. That was like fucking insane. They would text me, and after like a couple of messages they would be like, oh, but it would be so much better if I just had that thing. You should really buy it for me and stuff like that. I was like, what? um, it got so bad that at one point I had to actually say, all right, you know what, I think you have the wrong idea. Like I'm not probably gonna do that. All right, so you know, if that's what you wanted, we really have to fucking talk about it, because I was under a very different impression. And yeah, by that time the person had also stopped like, you know, reaching out, stopped like talking much to me. um I just I remember like certain moments, like for example, um I was watching their stream just to support, you know. um and there would be like this weird dude who was obviously fucking stoned as fuck or something, and was pretending to be, or in their head probably fucking believed they were some kind of like mafia person. They were talking really tough, and they were talking like, you know, oh, I can't say anything about my life because, you know, if the law finds out. And I'm like, bro, what kind of hogwash is this? Like, what kind of obvious nonsense is this? um but the person I'm talking about, like the one I was involved with, right? um I guess in their hopes of finding like a sugar daddy or something, were like going for it. So I had messaged them on Discord privately. I was like, hey, you know that person is just like, is fucking whack, right? And you know, let's call that person uh Oak. There you go. We'll call that person Oak. um don't ask why, it's just a random name that I found in my head. So the person I'm involved with, right? Let's call them Oak. And so Oak was like so desperate to have like a sugar daddy, I guess, or sugar mommy in that case, where they were like, oh no, they're telling the truth. I'll just keep talking to them and shit like that. I was like, dude, this shit is whack. Like for real, just you really believe in that like it's some kind of gangster that took an interest in you and just and is gonna fucking shower you with money, with their criminal empire money on Twitch. Okay, cool shit, bro. But yeah, that was like really desperate there, and I was like, okay, that person, Oak is fucking fried for real. Whenever I would try to have a serious conversation with a person, with Oak, she would, and I'll say she because that's the preferred pronoun there. She would be, I'm not saying anything. That's it. Like, you're not gonna learn anything from me. And I was like, okay, which limited, like, it severely limited our conversations, I guess. Except for the times Oak would open up a little bit, just enough to complain. Towards which I would try to comfort her, and she would be very, very much in complete denial of any positivity. Let's say it was a little bit taxing at that point, because we've had like a lot of conversations where I was trying to be like, this should. I've said a lot of times, haven't I? But fuck it. I would really try to lighten her mood, right? But that was impossible. Eventually, I found her at a Final Fantasy club, where I found out that, like, I'm not even sure why she called me over. But when I arrived, I found out that, or rather, she told me that, like, they, and by they I mean the whole staff of the club, right, are on Lavens, and like the DJ is controlling their whatever toys, and they're blasting to the rhythm, I guess, of the night. And I was like, all right, so what am I doing here? What the fuck am I doing here? And it turns out it was a ploy to get me to interact with her, with Oak, through Lavens, to incentivize me to actually buy her the toy. Which was, I was like, okay, look, this is just, yeah, it's fun, it's fine, but like, not everything has to turn over to the, to the objective that you clearly have. And at that point, I was also like already getting a bit frustrated. Whenever I would express like my frustration, which, I mean, to be fair, that frustration was unnecessary. I should have just fucking left, right? But I just wanted to try and salvage something out of it, because I thought that Oak was, at her core, let's say, probably interesting, but I was mistaken. There was nothing interesting there. It was just a person literally looking for handouts, like literally begging at this point. So I found out also that they knew my ex-partner, that particular ex-partner, which escalated because then I found out that they had a little bit of a fallout, according to Oak anyway. And, several opinions were also stated, and I'm not gonna state those because we're going into heavy gossip territory there. And my point isn't that. My point is to just share my interaction with the person, right? And I'm starting to see a strange pattern there. So, I had just broken up, and then Oak appears, and Oak is in the same friend group as my ex-partner. And I'm like, what is going on? And they're e-begging, Oak is e-begging, and I'm like, wait a moment. Wait a fucking moment. Because admittedly, like, the partner had just broken up with, well, how am I going to put this in a way that doesn't sound bad? Well, I did help that partner out in some times of need, monetarily, that's saying, but not like, I will not allege on whether or not that was anything to be worried about. I will say, though, that it happened, and therefore, in relation to this story, if the two people talked and it was mentioned that I helped, you see where I'm going with this? Like, there are some dots there that could connect, like, without much effort, right? And so in the end, I decided that worst case scenario, Oak heard about what happened there with, like, real life money, knew who I was, and went for it because she needed, like, a new toy, I guess. That's the worst case scenario. What I'm afraid of is that it's probably the best case scenario because if it's worse, I mean, I can make it worse, but I just don't want to. Whenever I would try to do anything with Oak, she was, like, really not having it. Like, we did end up playing together a little bit, like we did, like, a couple of fights together, and it was like she didn't know me, which was very off-putting, honestly. Sorry, just also sipping coffee. That wasn't fun for me, and it wasn't polite, but that's okay. Then I met some of her guildmates, let's say, both of which were acting kind of weird towards me, like not really talking, not really, as if I don't exist. Like they just acted like I don't exist, which was interesting. Asking about the guild around, other friends of mine, other acquaintances, and asking about the person even, Oak. It did turn out that, like, they were well known, which I didn't know that, right? They were kind of known, not well known, but kind of known for, shady stuff, like, their whole guild being way too much into ERP and stuff, and, like, constantly just, having, like, fucking circle jerks. literal circle jerks. And yeah, then, I also found out that they have, they have previously also nudged at people for gifts, let's say. And even the way that Oak was carrying herself on her stream, to me, was not really acceptable. I mean, it was chill, but whenever, like, there would always be, like, here and there some indirect or implied, like, give me money kind of moments. Ha ha, I'm joking, but not really kind of moments, which I was just, not towards me, but, like, in general, which I didn't find too, too appropriate. I'll say it that way. Anyway, eventually I did call out the person. I did call out Oak. I sent her a message on Discord where I described how I feel about the whole situation and how I feel about her just, just letting our contact dim and all that. To which the response was, like, a tirade of oh, I don't know what you're saying, or, I'm confused, or all the fucking little manipulative shit that, people try to throw at you whenever you're being level with them, right? And they just don't want to have it. And I was like, okay, well, here are the facts. What about this, this, and that? And she kind of like dodged there. Not in such a bad way. I think at the time I was, because I also wanted to be, I was satisfied with her answers in the end, and I was like, okay, maybe give this another chance. Except circumstances kind of piled up, and before long I felt like I had to nudge again and say, hey, this and that, what do you have to say? Which I still have on my Discord messages, whatever. And the person was like, Oak was like, well, it's, I know I've been this and that, and like blah blah blah, and kind of apologetic but not really, and blaming it on circumstance and all that. And then they even, she even told me like, oh, if you really want to like hang out, you should really come after me. And I'm like, what is this person telling me? What the fuck am I hearing? Come after someone? Like, what? No, dude, it's like, I'm right there. How come you never reach out? Like, that's simple. Like, what do you mean you have to push it because like I won't suggest anything? That is nonsense, That is literally putting everything on the other person until they get frustrated and fucking leave you alone because you just don't have the guts to admit that you never had any other interest than like milking them, essentially, from their money. This time I mean their money, not something else, but also probably something else. But yeah, the whole thing was, I don't know. It was bad. I'll say it was pretty bad. I don't know. Even if I took it as just something on the side, like someone I can just hook up with occasionally, that wasn't pleasant anymore because it would always revolve and end up in Oak just asking me for stuff. At which point, I just stopped messaging them completely. I kind of disappeared, and she tried to reach out after a week or so, which immediately went into like, sexting and ERP. To which I was like, okay, what is going on at this point? Like, you just, what the fuck is this? Like, you're coming in hot. You're like, okay, let's fucking rekindle that flame, but no other flame, and then they start again revolving it, around favors. And I was like, okay, this cannot go on. I just couldn't. And that's when she pulled the pity card. I'm so poor. I don't have any friends. And literally, she would be buying games every fucking week, like 2 or 3 games every week. There was no indication that she was in any like bad situation. Quite the opposite. I know for a fact she had like quite a few friends. I know for a fact what they were doing with their friends, which is their business, right? I don't fucking care, to be honest. But it's the lying that got to me, and the pretension. Okay, I'm so poor. I don't have money, and all day I sit in my house and I do nothing because I have no friends. No one is talking to me. Like, complete pity card, right? It's, what I'm talking about. It's just shit, honestly. As I said, I stopped talking completely then after that again. And after a week, I received a message where it was like, I know I've been away. It's because of my streaming duties. And I'm like, what streaming duties, And she was like, well, I've got to go to this meeting. I don't fucking know. to make and there's an event in Final Fantasy for streamers, and I want to participate because I need to boost my views because my stream is dying. And I was like, bro, your stream is not dying. Your stream is like far larger than mine, and mine is doing fine. So yours is doing more than fine. You have like so many subscribers and followers. It's fine. It's like, just relax. And she was like, nah, I have to do this. I'm like, okay, fine, then do that, and see you when I do, right? Whenever. And now goes and does that. And after a while, because I haven't been messaging her again, she was like, oh, I wasn't talking to you, but because, just because of that, I was like, okay, so now that this is over, are you going to be talking to me then? Is that what you're saying? To which she said, yeah, let's do some stuff together. Let's fucking have some fun. Never happened. Never reached out to me again. And after a while, I get a message again going like, oh, I'm so sorry. I know I'm horrible for not reaching out, and I know I fucked up and blah, blah, and all this and that, and I miss you and all that. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Don't worry about it. And that was my last word. My last fucking message was literally DW about it. Like, just don't worry about it. And I just left it there. And, well, she also left it there because I guess it was convenient for her. That was like such a fucking... I don't know. It was so shitty, honestly. Now, what makes it even more interesting is that like a few days after, a person from, Oak's Guild approaches me in Final Fantasy and goes like, hey, how are you? This, and you look so interesting, blah, blah, literally coming onto me, like, really hard. Like, literally really hard, just coming for me. Going for me, sorry, wow, that sounded wrong. Though, the other version is also true, by the way. But hey, that's another story. So that person, I'm gonna name that person. That person was like Ryuki or something. Anyway, and they're going for me like really hard, and I've never met them in my whole fucking life or life in Final Fantasy either. I don't know who they are. I mean, I knew, but that's the plot twist, right? And we'll get there. And so that person now, which, was in the same guild as Oak, is really trying hard. And I'm like, look, sure, we can chill, we can hang out, but, it's not gonna go anywhere, okay? I was just like clear at that point. I'm just fucking confused. I want to be alone. I just, I want to be with a partner that I'm always with. And I want to focus that and just like, just mind my own business and all that. And, we start talking after she accepted that, after Yukio accepted that shit. And, before long, she was like, hey, wanna come see my house? Which in Final Fantasy language means let's fuck, probably, because yeah, that's what happens, I guess, every time. I've seen a lot of houses in my clubbing time, but yeah, so we go to her place and it's fine, we just sit there. I'm like, at one point I couldn't help myself and I was like, hey, I noticed that you're in this guild, and I have to tell you, I was with your guild leader, right? We were kind of partners, so that's kind of like, is that how you know me? Is that like what happened? And Ryuka was like, no, that's not what happened. It was pure luck, pure coincidence. Like, okay, fine, I'll accept that. And then we talked about a little bit, about Oak, let's say, and about my previous partner as well. And it turns out that Ryukio was the ex of my ex. A person whom, without even being there, had caused quite a problem with with the person I was partners with before Oak. Um, so this whole thing was so messy at that point that I was like, dude, I am questioning I am fucking questioning my life choices at this point. Like, what is going on? My Final Fantasy, my social life Final Fantasy choices at this point. So, what the fuck is going on at this point? um but sure, Ryukyo just goes like, oh, this and that may be true, but no, I'm still just very interested in you. And all the red flags of like immediately telling me how amazing I am and all that shit, like out of nowhere, literally. I'm like, all right, so chill and let's just hang out every now and then, whatever happens, happens, and just that, right? And it's like, yeah, right, of course, like, yeah, definitely. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so she kind of visits me at my place, like at random times, which I found sweet, but also purposeful, right? As in someone trying to prove to me that they're the real shit. They're actually interested. Um, so I was very reserved with that shit. I won't deny that we did sext and we did ERP, but after that, I became extremely suspicious. So what I did was rather simple. She asked to meet, and I was like, sure, why not? And we meet, and I'm like, okay, let me hatch a master plan here. Let me set the chess pieces. And so we're at her place, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go away for like 15 minutes because there's something I need to catch, like an event, right? It wasn't an event; it was literally just a nut hunt, uh, a nut train, which is a lot more innocent than it sounds. It's basically just parting up and going after certain marks, certain creatures, which, well, they give you a currency called sacks of nuts, believe it or not. And so I used that as an excuse. And I knew it was gonna last like less than the time I gave. At which point I show up at Ryukyu's place, and I see them well enough with another person already on their lap, literally. And I was like, okay, gotcha. And I literally told her, I was like, hey, I literally caught you with your pants down here, okay? So let's just not pretend, because that's beneath at least me. And she's like, no, what do you mean? It's like, it's not what it looks like. I was laughing at that point. I don't think she was. And at that point I was like, hey, if you're gonna be a slut, can you at least fucking own it? Because I wouldn't have a problem with you, but like now I do, because you're a filthy liar. And she was like, oh my god, how are you talking to me like that? And I was like, hey, that's just a consequence of how you're treating me. So I will talk to you like that, of course, because that's what you are, a slut. Bye. And so I left. And that concludes the story of that whole weird, unholy fucking chain of events. That was so weird. All of it was so fucking weird. Um, I unfollowed the person, Oak. I unfollowed them. I just removed them from everywhere as well. I was like, God, that's just fucking corruption at this point. And if you ask me how I feel about it now, I feel it was like super silly. I mean, the Ryukyo part, right? That's not bad. That was funny. I saw it coming. I just, I was like, yeah, sure, let's fucking trigger the trap, whatever. Um, and I did trigger the trap, and I sprung it. And yeah, I found it amusing anyway, and the dialogues in the end were also very amusing. Like when I told her, you should at least own it, and she was like, "Whoa, no, I didn't know what you're talking about." That was so fucking cliche that I enjoyed it. And then I found like the person, the partner I had before, Oak, and I was like, "Hey, um, you know, this and that happened." And we talked a little bit about it, and it turns out that they also confirmed like a lot of the stuff that I was hearing about Oak and her guild. And yeah, interesting. Like I'm telling you, Final Fantasy's like social life is, or social scene and clubbing scene and ERP scene is so fucking convoluted. It's like the city of Komora, in fucking 40K. It's like somewhere it exists within the real game, like somewhere it exists in a space, in a warp dimension between the actual game and reality. It's so weird, for real. And you've got like fucking, I don't know, it's something, I'm telling you. I'm really glad I'm fucking done with that shit, by the way. Not because I don't enjoy RP or I don't enjoy sexting or romance, but dude, that scene was a nightmare. It was a fucking hellscape. So, in Final Fantasy at least. So yeah, that concludes the story about Ryukyo and Oak, which again, like I can't use the real name, the real nickname, that is, just because I think again, I think at some point we discussed this and it was implied or mentioned that like they would like never want to be mentioned or something. So yeah, I'm gonna respect that one. So that was interesting and disappointing, very disappointing. Funnily enough, Ryukyo, whenever she would see me in Final Fantasy after that moment, she would literally just try to. She would be looking at me. She would be kind of like turning her character to stare directly at me. I never fucking responded to anything. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it was funny. It was really funny. Anyway, that concludes the epic saga of Oak and Ryukyo. Oof, boring. But I'm glad I talked about it though, just because it's one of the many stories I want to share, which have been fucking piling up inside of me. Well, the piling up stopped, of course, like some time ago because I stopped fucking delving deep into the scene of dating and ERP and like clubbing in Final Fantasy. So yeah, that fucking happened. Fortunately. But yeah, there's more there's more I care to share, honestly. Don't know if I should do now, but because it's been like 45 minutes and I said I don't want this to be longer than an hour today. I literally just wanted to get a short story off my fucking chest. There is no real moral of the story. There is no real complaint on my end. It's just something that happened and I just wanted to talk about it, and that's it. But to me, I mean, this whole thing with streaming, I would ask Coke, like, if it's draining you so much, why are you doing it? Like, if it's really draining you this much, like, shouldn't you fucking regulate it? And she was acting, and you know what? I'm not sure if that's like accurate or not. Me being a small streamer anyway. But if to be able to maintain the amount of followers she had and the amount of subscribers she had, what you have to do is literally lose your mind like this. I'm happy being a small stream. Like that's where I'm keeping it at. That's it. Because, in some of the conversations we managed to have, because streaming did interest her, like it was a subject that, you know, she would actually, you know, fucking laser focus on if I mentioned it. You know, she was like, I don't know, what I'm trying to say is that she was presenting it as something completely untamable and something that is a literal fucking, you know, soul-sucking vampire of a hobby or of an occupation, let's say, if you can call it that. I'm not sure I can call it work or a job, because it's not. She was literally telling me, you know, half the times I stream, I don't wanna, and I'm just pressuring myself and I'm fucking drowning myself in energy drinks just to be able to stand and fucking stream. To be honest with you, to be absolutely honest with you, and keep in mind when I say this, that's just my humble opinion, and honestly, just me, right? Not knowing shit anyway. It's just the opinion I got, right? It showed on her streams that she was really just not into it. A lot of times. Even though, you know, she was going through the usual motions of stuff you say to appear energetic and to appear like, you know, engaged and all that. But yeah, nah. Pretty interesting that she was also, I guess, in a way, a VTuber, a V-streamer, sorry. As, you know, I guess that's how you call someone the moment they have a 3D avatar, right? So, you know, I guess, yeah, she was a V-streamer, I suppose, then. And I'm not being dismissive, I'm just, you know, confused about terminology here. Does it count, does it not count? I guess the moment you have like a rigged avatar, well, then you are already a V-streamer, right? So, yeah, so which also cost some money, by the way. Just saying, because she was complaining all the time, oh, I don't have money, oh, I'm so poor, what am I gonna eat tonight, there's nothing to eat. Meanwhile, just literally fucking buying 3 games in a fucking day. Yeah, I don't know, that people like that fucking disgust me. Not because of this streaming, but the whole package, you know, the whole fucking thing. All of the deal was just fucking ugly. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. That's the whole story. But yeah, wow, if I ever catch myself, you know, not wanting to stream, but then pushing myself and going like, oh my god, you know, my view count, my subscribers, my this, that, oh, you know, just doom and gloom and fucking sweating over it and being stressed and all that. I think I'll just fucking, I don't know, I'll get a bucket of cold water and snap out of it, for real. That looked torturous. Like, seeing her worry so much, so fucking obsessively over it, was just, I don't know, it was sad, honestly. I did tell her that. I don't think she liked it necessarily. That I mentioned it, that like, hey, you know, it does seem like you're pushing yourself too much, you know, on stream. Though I did try to encourage her as well in the beginning. I was like, hey, you know, just, your voice is fine, you know, don't worry. Or because, you know, she was, I guess, allegedly trans. I don't fucking know. I just know that she was identifying as she, her. Therefore, yeah. So I was trying to comfort her, but honestly, her negativity in general, not just in that case, but in general also, was fucking overwhelming. Like, literally overwhelming. I don't fucking know. So yeah, that's the whole thing. I guess I don't have much else to say about the person, about Oak, which is not her actual, you know, handle, but just a name that I'm using. As I said, as I said, I think they didn't want to be named. So yeah, just respecting that, I guess. Yeah. What a fucking shit show. What a fucking shit show, and an eye opener in the sense of like it can be like that for some streamers, I guess. And I'm glad it's not like that for me. Like whenever I'm fucking tired, I'll tell you, like, you know me. I'll just be like, oh dude, I haven't slept, this is gonna be a low energy shitty stream. Or I'll be like, hey, Krusty Monday, what the fuck? I can't do shit today. Or, you know, I'll always say, hey, if I don't feel like it and I feel like stopping, I'm gonna fucking stop, okay? You know, being warned and all that. I don't really think like loading yourself up, like literally filling your body with energy drinks until you're literally crying sugar instead of salt, and then just, you know, fucking pushing through a day after day, like that's at that point, get a fucking job. If you're gonna put that much emotional and, you know, mental effort into it, maybe not physically, but like definitely emotionally and mentally, just get a job at that point, like get an actual job. Because, you know, if you have that kind of drive in you, put it to a better use, which, you know, doesn't involve like e-begging, because she was, I mean, I'm sorry, but she was. Which I told her anyway. I was like, yeah, you know, what you're doing is just, yeah, I don't agree with this, you know. I don't know about that part, you know. I was like, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. In the end, I'm like, okay. On a serious note, in the end, I'm thinking, what a shame for the person, you know. Oh well. To her credit, though, because I have to give credit where it's due. She wasn't the person. I mean, obviously, being a streamer, she wasn't the person who would shy away from, like, you know, from using camera or voice chat, for example, which, yeah, not a lot of people do that. But in this case, everything else about the case was fucking rotten to the core, so yeah, what good is it then in that case? Nah, whatever. And we did, you know, at one point she did try to pull off a drama card, in the sense of like, I remember I went to see her, and to try to, you know, politely explain my position. And because of the way I said it, probably, which I admit I was trying to be sweet, because I was trying to be, I was trying to not alert her and to actually try to drive straight through into the matter, bypassing any defenses and just being actually affectionate and sweet and say, hey, this is what happens, you know, whatever, and just reach out, kind of, you know, reach deep before any fucking weird modes activate in here. So I understand that perhaps the way I put it gave her grounds enough to say what she did. And what she did say was like, oh, you thought this was a relationship. You know, I was clear from the start. Now I understand what's happening. You think we have a relationship. And I'm like, yes and no. Like, that's not the focus of my talk. But since you brought it up, I have to say that, you know, I do view us as being partners, just not exclusively. So there is that, and you may view it differently, but, you know, it doesn't come into play at all in what I'm trying to say right now. So it's irrelevant, you know, which effectively, you know, also disarmed the whole defense of, oh, you know, you thought we were, you know, oops, I did it again. Okay, Miss Britney, calm your fucking tits. I'm not here for that, you know. But yeah, I don't know. What a mess, honestly. And what a shame. And I hate the fact that it is actually probable, not just possible, but probable, that all that happened, all that this was just a person trying to fucking get something out of me. A material good or something. That felt disgusting. I have to say, that part of it felt fucking disgusting. But yeah, it is what it is. And I guess it happens. But the crime lord incident, the fucking tweets kingpin incident on her stream was that was funny to watch and sad because I could sense Oak's need to believe that this was some kind of actual rich person, legally or illegally, who is going to literally just shower her with money for free, just for the, just because of, I don't know, Oak being cute on stream. I don't know. But hey, that's it. I got nothing else to add about that, and I can finally, just like Dexter, I can finally put that in my little wooden case and shove it under the bed. I don't know. I don't consider these situations as, quote unquote trophies of mine, but I do consider them as what they are, just memories and experiences that, I keep in my head and heart, and sometimes I just like to look back at them and share how I feel about it and all that, talk about it, whatever. But yeah, there's at least like 4 more people I want to about whom I want to share, my take, let's say, considering what happened between us. And I don't know, a couple of those stories are sad and a couple are funny. That's how it goes, I guess. I kind of want to talk, I kind of want to bring up one of them, but I feel like it's gonna sour my mood. If that makes sense. I feel for that one in particular because it's gonna expand into a subject that is a bit sensitive. Could probably make an interesting stream of its own, I guess. Perhaps next Saturday, perhaps with some beer, later in the evening, just chill and talk about that one. And the things that, that made me think and feel. But yeah, so much for Oak. There you go. That's it. I don't have much more for you. I guess at least for the closing, I can just use my camera for the closing a little bit. I have to fucking do that, right? I have to do it because otherwise I'm just never gonna get used to it. I should have done it earlier, but whatever. I did it now. Fucking sue me. Right, so. God, I see myself in the camera right there. Right the fuck there. And I don't know how I feel about it. It's an interesting feeling in the end. I'm never gonna get used to it, I feel like. But I can get used to it enough to be able to do it. And no, that's it. I got nothing else for you. I think that's my Saturday stream. Just like I like it. I don't want it to be more complicated. I didn't want a heavier story. And honestly, I'm glad that this one is not that deep or important. But yeah, I'm still like, you know, for that part, I guess I can have my camera turned on again. What I took away from this, like that stream stuff, I don't know. What do you think? I don't think, like, whenever I see someone streaming, I can't really. Well, you never know. On the other hand, but except with me, because I'm I'm an OG. Okay, I'm real with you, kind of thing. So, you know, if I don't want to stream, you'll know it. But in general, I can't say I detect, like, whenever I see someone streaming, even if they're streaming like for hours on end, like I do, I just can't, or at least my mind doesn't want to believe that behind that this is a mask, and behind that is a person who can barely fucking, you know, can barely sit up, and they need like fucking energy boosters and Jet from Fallout to be able to just, you know, keep going for their stream, and all the while inside they're fucking dying. I don't think so. Maybe there are some like that, but I think that Oak's case is probably not the norm, or I'm hoping it's not the norm, at least, right? I'm hoping. In my opinion, if it's gotten like this for someone, let's say that some of you are, let's say that one of you is a streamer, right? If you're in such a situation, I would say take a fucking break. Take a fucking break, come back later. I don't think you should be, or anyone should be, pushing themselves to stream or to be stream or to VTube or anything. I think just, you know, fucking take it easy and do it when you feel like it. Like, I, for example, only do it like when I feel like it. You know, Monday, Tuesday, a bit on Saturday. That's it. I don't want to do it more. I had mentioned before some ideas that I had. In the end, I didn't feel too ready for it yet, and so I just didn't do it. And I think that's a healthy way to go about it, right? So I don't know. But once again, this whole combination of energy drinks, being trans, which I've talked about that, you know, the quote unquote trans people of MMOs. Yeah, it's I've talked about it enough. But yeah, the whole starter kit is just super annoying for me. I don't know. It just turns out that, you know, it's not a good character class. The fucking energy drink MMO trans main, that class needs balancing. It's out of control, for fuck's sake. And I'm saying that because, yeah, both Ryukyo and Oak, but both of them were that. So yeah, even more evidence piling upon evidence, I guess. Anyway, that's not to say go out there and, like, you know, doubt everyone that says that, you know, that tells you they're, you know, confides in you about their orientation or gender or sexuality or identity. I'm just saying there's definitely a trend, let's say, a tendency. Oh well, whatever. It is what it is. Not all apples are bad either, obviously. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing fucking Saturday. If you think ill of me for sharing my experiences like this, just don't fucking watch me. Or watch the streams that interest you, you know. Watch me on Monday where I Guild War, or watch me on Tuesday where I Skyrim, and just avoid it when I just talk about stuff like that, because I can't help it, honestly. Like, if I want to say something, I will probably say it. you know. And I guess by now you know that I don't really. The purpose isn't to belittle or to. There's no negative purpose towards this. It's just me and how I felt about the situation. That's literally it. For all I know, Oak is completely changed by now, for example. But as I said in the beginning, it's an experience that I did live. It's not a lie. It's not private. At least not for me. If it's private for the other person, well, tough fucking luck. They can decide not to talk about it, right? I decide to talk about it. Something I lived. I'll talk about it. Unless, of course, in such situations, I'm specifically asked not to, and the reason is valid. Yeah, sure. Like, for example, not naming Oak by their actual fucking Twitch and Final Fantasy name, for example. I seem to remember they didn't want that, so there you go. I'm not a fucking savage or anything, and I'm not mongering rumors, and I'm not fucking gossiping exactly for the sake of gossiping. I'm just literally just sharing my my stories. That's it. That's all. There's no ill intent behind it, and there's definitely no ill feelings other than shrugging, I guess, and a little bit of cringing and a little bit of what a shame kind of feeling, and that's it. That's all, for real. But yeah, if you think that this is like low tier content, then which it might be, but I never cared. Just avoid my streams where I just talk, right? It's easy. Or avoid my stream altogether. Who the fuck cares? Honestly, I will just do my thing in my little corner of the internet, and you can do yours in your corner of the internet, and everyone's happy. Anyway. Being preemptively defensive is fun sometimes, but it's something like I don't enjoy doing it. But it's something that I suppose kind of grounds people and myself, because I got myself thinking even now, like, is this like, does this appear like vitriolic or toxic or anything? And then I was like, hey, just do your thing. Whatever. And the worst that can happen is that one of you, will tell me, oh, this is not really good content because this and that, and then we can have a discussion, and that in and on itself is actually good content. But yeah, until then, or until I feel on my own that like I shouldn't do it for some reason, I can't think of a reason, honestly. I guess I will have my moments in which I just do these short streams and talk about stuff that I feel like talking about. As simple as that. It's also like not every stream has to be peachy, and not every life is peachy, and obviously sometimes you just also want to gossip at the end of the day, if it really comes to that. Maybe you just want to sit back and have some coffee and be like, oh, did I tell you what happened with that person or that other person? Listen to this fucking story, this kind of thing. I don't find that like too bad. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching, I guess. And I'll catch you on Monday. I'm actually quite eager or excited to stream Guild Wars again for you. Such as my stream is anyway, but yeah, I kind of like it. I actually kind of like it. I'm vibing to it, It's pretty cool. Oh, I almost forgot. This time I remember. Mondays I'll stream later because it fits the group's schedule better. I have to remember that it's like for years now, I've been starting a certain time. And now just accommodate basically streaming an MMO and making it interesting, or trying to, I have to adjust. Anyway, well, all right. So there you have it. That's it. That's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it at least good background noise, or the feeling. Okay, so if you ask me what the goal is here, aside from my end, right? So on my end, I explained what the goal was, but as far as my audience, can I call you my audience? That's so formal. As far as you bitches go, my favorite bitches, by the way. As far as you guys go, it's I guess in a best case scenario, what you got out of this should be feeling like you shared a story over coffee, and that's it. Some background noise of someone. Perhaps friend is like too optimistic, but like someone in the background at a cafe where you read a book or watch something on your tablet, or maybe paint a miniature or something. You're overhearing a conversation between someone and their imaginary friend, I guess, about something, and you're like, huh, cool. Or not cool, but damn, look at what people are talking about, or something like that, I guess. So I hope I gave you good background noise or something. Or maybe it made you think, perhaps, or I don't know. Even if it's nothing at all, there is my end at the end. And as far as that goes, I'm satisfied. And so, considering all that matters is my satisfaction, I'm gonna dump you now, and I'll see you on Monday where I'll need you again. I'll need you to feed my my sense of self-importance and my self-indulgence fuel. All right. All right. So yeah, I'll see you, and thank you very much. Okay, and take it easy. Have fun today and tonight. Whatever you do, I hope it's fucking hot. I'll see you on Monday.